welcome back to the channel. Now in today's video I actually wanted to make a short video on one of the cameras that I use. This was my first camera that I decided to buy, and it is actually the Nikon Coolpix A900. Now this camera is actually a compact camera. It's actually more of a point and shoot camera. From first impressions, having a look at the camera, it's actually quite a sturdy built camera. It's actually got a really good feel to it. You know, it's got rubber here and also rubber here on the back as well. You can actually grip it quite well and have access to all the dials as well as the functions. Also, it's actually got a number of buttons and dials, and they're actually quite user friendly. So you've got your function button here, and then you've got your zoom, and then you've got your multifunction scroller as well as your dedicated playback button. Then we've got a dedicated delete menu and dedicated record. And you've got your on and off here as well. Then you've also got another scroller here, which you can use as a up, down, left, right keypad, or you can actually scroll as well. So, you know, from first impressions, it's actually quite a decent camera, and you've got your tilt screen that can tilt many angles, so enabling you to take shots at very difficult angles or macro shooting, for instance, you know, like so. And we have the battery compartment down the bottom here, and we've got our stock standard 1/4 inch thread screw for mounting it to a tripod. Now, as for the battery compartment, it's also where the SD card goes as well. So you just have to press it in and then it comes out, and it actually takes the bigger SD card, but it doesn't matter as long as you use an adapter. It's the same thing. We also have the charging port and the HDMI port as well on the side right here. So we've got our charging port up top, which is the micro USB cable, and we've got the micro HDMI cable as well. That's basically everything at a glance. But then once we turn it on, we can see we've got our powerful zoom nose. And look at this thing, guys. Just look at that. Look at how much zoom you have. Now I have to admit that for a compact camera and a point and shoot style camera, this zoom is actually very powerful, but it has its limitations as well. Then we also got the pop-up flash, which is very useful also. And we have the standard Bluetooth capability and the Wi-Fi capability. It's not too heavy. You know, being a compact camera, it's very decent and it has a good weight to it. Now we can get into the functionality of it and the capabilities that it has. Straight off the bat, we can see that we have a dial for your modes. And what that does is it actually allows you to switch through modes quite easily, like a digital SLR camera, just by turning the knob. And then you have your aperture and f number control, and that controls how much light the camera allows. And that's basically all the buttons on this camera. And another thing, it has the stereo microphone at the front here. So it's actually quite decent for taking selfies, because once you flip the screen upright like that, it actually converts the screen upside down so you can see yourself directly in the LCD screen. That's actually a pretty cool feature. So it's more like a selfies as well as a vlogging camera. But when it comes to vlogging and taking selfies, you also need to make sure that you're not too far away from the camera, that you stay within a certain range, because if you go too far, it's actually not going to pick up your voice very clearly. And that brings me to the pros and cons of the camera. So straight off the bat, we can see that some of the pros for this camera are the simple fact that it has a 35 by zoom lens. It has a flip up screen so you can take your selfies, and it also records 4K. But I've also been told that it's not true dedicated 4K. It's just it has 4K capabilities, and it can also record in slow motion. But if you want to know more about it, obviously Google the product, and then it will give you an in-depth description of the actual camera. It's also got good image quality, so you've got a 20 megapixel camera, and it's also got built-in help. So as you scroll to different modes and as you scroll through the menu, it actually displays what you're selecting and what the function actually does, which is very helpful. Also, it's also got the vibration reduction, so it will help you with steady movement, whereas some cameras won't have that, and it's actually a 5-axis vibration reduction. Then you've also you've got your quick modes up top that you can quickly scroll through, and it's also got the pop-up flash. Okay, these are all advantages of the camera. You've also got like creative tool editing where you can actually input comments. You can actually attach comments to the photo that you're about to print. So that helps with like if you want to share a picture with somebody and then put in like a nice little comment. Also, it also has the priority autofocus, meaning that it will focus where you want it to, as well as subject tracking. And then it's also got target finding autofocus, which assesses the intended subject and then automatically adjusts the autofocus area according to its size to assure a clearly focused image. Now, like I said before, the microphone, yes, it is at the front. So that is kind of a pro and a con in itself, because you would actually do want a microphone port. That way you can actually attach a microphone to it and get clear sound. Straight off, we can see that one of the cons with this camera is the simple fact that it doesn't have a hot shoe so that you can attach a flashlight. But it actually doesn't have that, so we have to improvise and use a adapter for the 1/4 inch mount thread. And what that does is, it's like a long aluminium plate, and it allows you to attach a hot shoe to the side so you can actually put a flash next to it, or you'd have to just buy a camera rig, and then you can attach multiple accessories to the rig itself, which has like 3/4 inch thread holes as well as 1/4 inch thread holes as well. Now, and also the fact that it doesn't have a microphone input, like I actually said before, that's actually a major disadvantage, because you can't get clear sound how you want it if you could actually attach a microphone. And it's also got no RAW option, so it doesn't record your videos in RAW format. And the touchscreen, there is no touchscreen. So unlike some cameras, compact or SLRs, they actually have a touch function, so you can actually zoom or you can actually autofocus by just a touch of a button. In this case, you would have to press that halfway down, because it's actually got a pressure point halfway through, whereas if you just press it halfway down, it will just autofocus for you, and then when you press it all the way down, that's when it actually takes the photo. Another disadvantage is also that the 1/4 inch screw is off center. Maybe some of you prefer it that way, but I've also seen the advantages of having it off center. Now, another disadvantage is that when you actually try to charge it, as soon as you charge the camera, it switches off and then it just goes into charge mode. But in the manual, it actually says that you can actually use and operate the camera while it's charging. But in my experience, every time I try to charge it up, it just automatically switches off, and that's just a pain in the ass, because sometimes I don't have a spare battery and I want to just be able to continuously keep shooting with the cable plugged in and charged up. So that's also another disadvantage, which also brings me to my next point. Charging the battery all the time via the cable will actually start to overheat the camera itself. So I do recommend that you do buy extra batteries, as well as a desktop charger for it, because that will save you heating up the camera too often and then maybe causing damage to a circuit inside through overheating. So we know that can be a problem when it comes to electronics. If it overheats too much, it can cause a fire even, especially if you're not using the dedicated cable that they give you, which is a 1.5 amp cable. The accessories it comes with is just simply a strap that you can mount to the camera, and then it has your dedicated country's adapter, and you simply just slide that on, and then that's how you charge it, through the USB right there. So you plug the USB into that and then simply plug it into the camera. Now it's also got a HDMI output, so everything that you're displaying on the camera will display directly onto the TV. That's actually basically the gist of it. You know, if you actually want to know more about this camera, then by all means just Google it, and you will see that it's got a very, very in-depth description of what it can actually do. And if you actually want to go further into it, just type in Google Nikon Coolpix A900 manual and download the actual manual, and then go through the actual contents of the camera, and it will actually show you everything you need to know about it. That's something I do strongly recommend, because if you actually want to know everything you need to know about the camera, rather than listening to somebody else or taking someone else's word for it, do your own research and make sure that it's suitable to you. That brings me to my final score for the camera. I actually gave it 3 out of 5, because for a compact size camera, it actually does pack quite a punch. For those on a budget looking for a point and shoot style camera, this is actually a pretty good option. It's very capable and it's actually very affordable for its size. Also, not only that, for a compact camera, for its size, it does pack a lot of surprises, including, like we mentioned earlier, the 35x zoom telephoto lens, which is actually quite powerful with a focal range of 24mm to 840mm. And that's great for everything from like close-up, selfies to landscape shoot, just shots in general. Perfect for traveling people and people that like to do quick vlogs. And it also balances the ease of use with the advanced features. Although it does have 4K capabilities, like I said, it isn't true 4K, and no matter how big your memory card is, it will only allow you to record up to about 7 minutes of 4K video. So that kind of sucks. But personally for me, I'm not using 4K, but I did want a camera that was 4K capable, so I decided to settle for this. Whereas with 1080p and at 30 frames per second or 60 frames per second, it records up to about half an hour, so about 27 minutes approximately, around there, which is very decent because most clips I like to try and keep within 20 minutes, but I do know that I've made some clips that go over 25 minutes, but that's only because I'm trying to be very informative and I'm trying to put as much info into the video as possible in order to help you guys as much as possible. Now, also some of the standard features you expect from a camera, like Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, and a dedicated app like SnapBridge, which then will allow you to upload instantly your photos instantly to like your cloud. Also, whether you want to upload it to your PC or your tablet, that SnapBridge app allows you to do that. But not only that, it also allows you to take full control of the camera. It also has the features of red eye reduction, just like most cameras. And another feature that I hadn't heard of before getting this camera is blink proof. Now what blink proof actually does is, when you actually take a snapshot of a photo, it actually takes 2 shots, and basically it tries to take it with your eyes open, and basically if it detects that somebody's eyes are closed, it will give you an error message displaying that a blink was detected. But the fact that it actually does that without you having to go through the playback file and look for the photo and see whether, you know, everyone was smiling, everyone had their eyes open, that's actually a great feature. I never knew that existed until I found out about this camera. In my honest opinion, to be sure about any camera, you should actually do your research in advance and make sure you Google the product you're after and try to learn as much about it as possible. And to take it to the next level, if you can, actually go into the camera store and actually try it out for a change. You know, go in the actual store, ask them if you can actually try the camera. Hopefully it's on display already. If it's not, maybe look for a store that has it on display, and then go through all the functions and, you know, go through some of the programs, some of the customizable features, and just see if it actually suits your needs. Because not only do you want to test it out, but you also want to make sure that you have a fixed price range in mind, so that way you're buying within your financial capabilities rather than just, you know, splurging on a camera and then realizing that it doesn't actually do everything you need. So don't always trust the store owners or like the people that are there to help as well. So the customer service, sometimes they're just there for themselves and they don't really care about what you actually need or want. Although some do, so don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that all customer service people are con artists. I'm just saying that I can't trust all of them. Bringing it back to price range, I actually got this camera for 300 Australian dollars. Now it is selling at the moment for about 400 to 500 Australian dollars, but I actually bought a remanufactured one. To be honest, I actually settled for a remanufactured one because it still had a year Australian warranty, and it was a genuine Nikon product from Nikon provider as well. So that's why I settled for it. Remanufactured just means that, you know, it's probably something went wrong and then they've just opened it up and replaced parts. But the camera came brand spanking new. There was nothing wrong with it at all. That's all I really have to say about the camera for now. I mean, I could keep going into further detail and read the manual to you, but that's just a waste of time. I just wanted to give you guys a quick video about this camera that I use and what I think of it personally, but don't take my word for it. Obviously, like I said, do your research, make sure you get all the facts right, and of course I don't know every single little detail about it yet, because I'm actually still in the process of using the auto program mode. So I actually leave the camera in charge of most of the functionality, because I only use it as a point and shoot video recordings, and that's all I needed it for. But it's also nice to know that if I end up traveling, I actually have a good camera that I can take selfies with and preview it, you know, in an instant, as well as being able to take, you know, really good shots far, near or far, with its powerful 35 times zoom, the telephoto lens. Okay, so there you have it, guys. That's just, you know, my take on the Nikon Coolpix A900. And you know, for somebody on a budget, and for somebody that really wants a compact camera for just pointing and shooting and is not really into photography, this camera I would recommend, honestly. But even though I recommend it, I also do strongly suggest that you try to find it on special, because even to this day I would not pay $500 for this camera, considering the other cameras you can buy for that price range as well. You know, I actually settled for this camera because, like I said, I wasn't that knowledgeable. But now that I am more knowledgeable, I have to admit that if you buy this camera, make sure you do buy necessary accessories, such as a desktop charger for the batteries. Make sure you get extra battery, and try not to charge it too often via the USB port directly connected to the camera, because you do not want it to overheat and short circuit something or fry something within the camera. And make sure you get your screen protector as well, so that you don't damage the screen. And make sure you also get a hot shoe adapter as well, because a flashlight is very important for recording videos. So when you need more light, you can actually just turn on the flash, and make sure you can adjust the flashlight as well. Okay, and there you have it, guys. The Nikon Coolpix A900. What do you think? Let me know if you think it's a good camera, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching, and take care of yourselves, and Happy New Year, and let's get it on for 2019.